So, Mr. Speaker, the culture of fear is creeping in as a result. Because of this myopic, vindictive, and irresponsible approach to governing this country, and disregard for the basic tenets of democratic governance.
True.
The behavior of this administration is an extension of the behavior in the 10th Parliament. Scissors cutting, and no care of the consequences for the nation and its people. Now, sir, the members on the other side have to double up, as you lost not 9 months, but 2 to 3 years as a result of the 90 billion you cut from the 2012, 2013 and 2014 budgets. The slowing down of the development path and trajectory of this country started then, before you got in office, before you got in government. Now in this budget, you have to repair the damage, make up for time lost. As my colleague said, fix it. You had a shoe-in. You know, the Americans talk about when you have a shoe-in, you're a done deal. And the Americans say you have a shoe-in. But you had a shoe-in and you've blown it so far. You've just blown it. The hollowness of the calls for national unity in the budget speech. It is repeated several times, sir. But how can you have national unity? It is not an academic exercise. It is not imposed, as someone said, I believe, on my side here. It is something that takes time and effort and trust, the building of trust and confidence. How can you have trust and confidence when you're discriminating in hiring? You're repossessing people's property, especially poor people, in housing schemes. Disregard for laws, including procurement law and regulations. Implementing what you condemned repeatedly for years. And at the same time, let's look at the contract workers. I didn't say it. One of them, who said it was not a supporter of the PPP, as far as I know.
Forensic audit.
But a forensic audit you had at a huge amount of money,
42 million.
right? Without a tender, by the way. But he said, his review of the 2016 budget, not my words, said, and in fact he put out a press statement to qualify, to answer what were some of the comments coming from the government side. He says, in his press statement of February 8th, 2016, Mr. Ram says, the estimates show the projected number of contract employees in 2016 is 5,878, and is therefore an increase of 1,000 persons, or 20.5%, an increase of 18.2% in budgeted cost. I'm not even going near Ministry of Presidency, where you increase from 298 to 505 contract workers. But you know, Mr. Ram goes on to appeal to the President, appeal to Mr. Harman, that, and he quotes him again, there's been a clear direction by the President, their intention to return the public service to a professional one, and so contract hires will be reduced to a minimum. We sincerely believe that President Granger has the authority to end this abuse. We look to him to act in this manner. So, you have attacked contract workers all these years. You have fired people who are on contract. You have told people who are on contract now, all the personnel officers have gone to all the departments and agencies under your jurisdiction and said to them, you all got to join the public service fixed establishment. And that might explain why on some of the budget documents in the estimates, certain agencies have no contract workers listed at all. However, those agencies are completely made up of contract workers. So are they going to be fired? Are they going to be told if they don't go on the public service fixed establishment, they lose their jobs? But the public service rules allow for contract workers. So if you have a problem with contract workers, you have to get the public service rules to be amended. You've got to bring the changes for the Public Service Commission to adopt, and then you do it. Not like what you started doing from the time you got appointed in office, willy-nilly. I got terminated, as you know, and I didn't need to be terminated. because I was a president's lieutenant. As an advisor, you're president's lieutenant. When the president changed, you automatically don't have a job. I didn't need to get a nice official letter signed by Mr. Harmon telling me I'm dismissed. I never get dismissed in my life. He didn't even give me a notice, no warning letter, nothing. Just tell me, terminate. Oh, and by the way, all your benefits have been forfeited, right? So, and this was the template letter sent to people. So, I mean, I didn't need that. I knew the new president is sworn in. I watch it on television. I know, Lord God, Gail, your job done. All right, go on. Life goes on. I didn't need that. But anyway, I understand the need to show people. I understand the need on the other side to show people who has the power. Who has the power. Let me bring them down. Show them who is in charge. So, Mr. Speaker, and so, whilst you're firing people on contract, because they're politically incorrect, your definition, at the same time, you're going to increase the number of contract workers by 1,000. You got some explaining to do in the estimates, I can tell you that. Simultaneously, sir, the PPP, we're talking about national unity still. The PPP asked for certain documents when he was invited by Minister Jordan to talk on the budget. And we asked for certain documents, not confidential, not secret, to facilitate our contribution on the pre-budget 2016 preparation. However, this request was denied. The Private Sector Commission complained that it too made proposals to the budget 2016 preparations, but none were accepted. Just like when they made proposals to amend the Financial Institutions Amendment Act, they were ignored. The leading opposition made proposals to amend the tax measures on February 4th. No response has been given by the press. We know he did a press conference, but we know too that the government responds to anything in the press. No response is not an opportunity to find consensus. PPC doesn't practice what the APNU or AFC did in opposition. Obstruct, cut, throw away. It contributes to discussion on the development path of our country in the interest of all of our people. You may not like what we say, but that's okay. This is about finding common ground, but you have dispensed. In a multi-ethnic, multi-religious, multi-linguistic nation like ours, with a secular state, and I underline this is a secular state, ruled by the Constitution, governance is of utmost importance to ensure balance, fairness, and equal access are promoted and maintained for all citizens, whether they voted for you or voted for us. It's not a matter. It's not an issue. They are the citizens of this country. And when you take on the mantle and the power and the privileges of being in government, then you serve all the people. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, the frequent quotations from one religious text in a multi-religious society indicates a lack of sensitivity. And worse yet, a hegemonistic approach to one religion at the cost of all the other religions. The right sections of the Constitution enshrines our right to freedom of worship, and it enshrines that this is a secular state. For the first time in a budget speech, as also happened at the inauguration ceremony on May the 16th, 2015, reference and quotations is made from only one religious text. It automatically leaves out other believers, faiths, other faiths. There is a reason why this Parliament, sir, after independence, crafted a non-denominational, non-specific faith prayer that is read at the beginning of each sitting in recognition of the fact that this is a multi-religious, secular nation. We are very different from our English-speaking CARICOM countries, and we're more like Suriname. And that is why at the Republic events and Republic and Independence events, there is a prayer similar to the one in Parliament that is non-denominational. And so we have to be sensitive to these issues. You keep going through things like a bulldozer in a China shop all the time. Mr. Speaker, the debate on greening and yellowing Guyana The debate on the greening and yellowing of Guyana's public and state property is another example of exclusionary politics, not inclusionary governance, in accordance with Article 13 of the Constitution. Exclusionary. So you're talking about national unity, but you're doing things that exclude people, exclude religions, exclude other things all the time. So how can you be talking through two sides of your mouth? You want national unity, but you're doing things to alienate people, to marginalize people. You don't have to like the fact that we're a diverse nation. You don't have to like the fact that we're multi-religious. You don't have to like the fact that people speak different languages. But you do have to recognize that you have a responsibility, an obligation as a government to serve all the people. As I have said, Mr. Speaker, this is a taxation budget. The only budget in more than 23 years to bring in so many taxes. Mr. Speaker, I sat down and went through, and Mr. Jordan may appreciate my efforts. I have gone through with all the budgets from 2008 to 2016. I could go back further, but it's not on your website, and I know all my files left in governance, you know, sir. I didn't have these files. I can't get these files anymore. No, don't give me none. Sir, I've gone back and read all the budgets. 2008 talked about restoring the economy, support to emerging sectors, modernizing the traditional sectors, and so on. In the measures that were brought in 2008, and remember this is the time of the global food and fuel crisis, we increased the threshold that removed 36,000 people from paying income tax, increased old age pension, public assistance. We exempted excise tax on alcohol used in manufacturing pharmaceuticals. This was to help the business communities and the pharmaceutical companies and so on. We zero-rated items of VAT on essential items and other items. We reduced the cost of registering companies. Note, sir, there was no increase in taxes, but measures, in fact, to reduce the impact of the global crisis on the poor and help the business community manage. 2009, no taxation. 2010, again, no taxation. 2011, budget, and quoted by the minister, was fully financed without any need to have any new taxes. What were the measures? This is 2011. The implementation of what? Women of Worth. Where's Women of Worth gone? You talk about women in entrepreneurship, where is the program? 1 laptop per family. This was commenced in 2011 with the aim of giving 90,000 low-income households to receive laptops over a 4-year period. We succeeded in distributing over 50,000 laptops to low-income families in this country. And then what did you do? You cut, fire all the staff of the 1 laptop, and now you've changed the program. And you don't do nothing yet up to now. Increase old age pension as usual and income tax. Increase the threshold to now include 38,000 people who no longer pay income tax. Reduce the corporate tax rate on chargeable profits from 45 to 40%. Reduction of non-commercial companies tax from 35 to 30. Why weren't these kind of measures? You're going to bring those taxes down even more in this budget. 2012, again, remove taxes on equipment used for generating electricity for non-traditional or renewable services for both household and commercial purposes. Now that's what you're talking about with green economy. Not greening Guyana. Green economy is to allow people to have access at a cheaper price for non-traditional alternative energy, whether it's solar or whatever. Removal, this is for the household and commercial. Removal of tariffs under the EU CARIFORUM Economic Partnership Agreement. Again, doubled old age pension and public assistance. Income tax threshold increased now to benefit 60,000 people. Again, no tax. Whatever tax, it was a reduction. 2013, again, support for sugar, GPL, and Linden electricity. Old age pension and electricity assistance was now added to it for 20,000 for consumers at GPL. NIS, with the increase of 1% of the contribution for employed and self-employed, government agreed that will meet the employees and the employers' share of the increase in the contribution rate. And there will be no NIS deductions for those earning under 50,000. 58,300 people would have benefited.
Honourable Member, you have 5 minutes remaining.
Mr. Speaker, I humbly seek your permission in granting the Honourable Member the agreed 5 additional minutes.
Mr.
I thank the
Speaker,
Honourable Member. Honourable Member, you will be allowed to speak for 35 minutes.
thank you, sir. And I could go on, sir, with the taxation, but let's go ahead. All the taxes, 2014 reductions in income tax. The issues of 2015, there were no new taxes. Sorry, but regrettably, the government withdrew the government's financial support for the NIS. 2016 is full of taxes. After this glimpse, sir, of 2002-8, now do you get it, members on the other side? How to reduce inequalities, how to assist people, while at the same time investing in the private sector to help them grow and expand? Do you get it now? Do you get it now? Mr. Speaker, you know these taxes that have been brought in here, I saw that the minister said, and the budget speech says so, that you have to have all these compliances with GRA before you have access to certain licenses. Why? You have tin. Why was tin introduced? Everybody working in this country, a huckster, cleaner, a taxi driver, a public servant, everybody has to have a tin. Therefore, GRA knows who's paying and not. They just have to use their systems to track it. Why you have to make now more delays, more time, time loss, time loss, time loss. You are reversing time. This is not how you try to encourage small entrepreneurs. I heard certain members on the other side talk about small entrepreneurs. How do you improve and help small entrepreneurs when you're creating a bureaucratic nightmare? Kafkaesque, and it's a thing. But Mr. Speaker, you know, this is not a stimulus budget. I want us to not repeat what my honourable member Irfan Ali said. I thought he did an excellent job. And that as a young Guyanese, a product of our country being a macroeconomist in this parliament, we should be proud as all Guyanese. Mr. Speaker, we know about the commissions of inquiries. All these commission inquiries, the worst one is what you've done to Walter Rodney. But we said that the last time, and it made no difference to you. You have a fetish with commissions of inquiries. You have one on Gaisuko, and then you dash away the report, and you do your own thing. It's time for us to bring the Gaisuko report. Let's talk about it. And withdraw. Stop the closure of Wales Estate. Yeah. Stop it. You have a commission inquiry in public servants. My dear Mr. Jordan, Minister says that the wages increases have to wait for the collective bargaining. But on a TV interview called Public Interest, a very knowledgeable person said that you have to wait until the commission inquiry finish for Gaisuko. Public servants. And the discipline forces can't get the increase either until the COI on public service come in, because you got to get equivalencies between the police and the army, the prison, and with the public servants. So why did I say that in the speech in the first place? Why you always got one body saying something or one body saying, can't you get your act together? Can't you get your act together? I got a minister saying something and another minister saying another thing. You're confusing the public. The Commission of Education, the Commission Inquiry in Education, my dear friend Rup Narain, what's happening? It's still not established. Mr. Speaker, lack of transparency, accountability and oversight. And I just want to give an example of the National Procurement Administration website, an innovation that was created by Guyana and was congratulated by the Inter-American Convention Against Corruption in the 2011 report to the OAS message sheet. Because we publicly put the minutes of the tendering of the opening, the minutes of the tender board, the advertisement for the tenders, and the awards of the tenders. And anybody, we're the only country in the English-speaking country that did that. Go to it now. Go to it now and see what has happened. The posting of awards only go up to October 2015. Last post. Minutes of the opening of the tenders, October 6, 2015. No minutes of the NPTAB board posted on the website. And the actual postings of the awards, Lord, Lord, Lord. It is so difficult. It's so user-friendly. It is an exercise of frustration. So that, and the last posting I said was October 2015. So I don't know where the awards are. But I would ask Dr. Norton to pay attention to this website, because what I was able to glean with it, from July 2015 to October 2015, only $18 million was spent by the Ministry of Health or awarded for drugs and medical supplies. No wonder you got shortage. No wonder you got shortage. And so too, the construction at Coffee Square. What is it you're doing? A stadium, a recreational park? What is it? No public information, no designs, no costs, no tendering. Why do you have to hide this? If it's for Jubilee, let's all know about it. Why you gotta hide it? There's a lack of accountability.
I'll remember you have 5 minutes remaining.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I can go on about federaloids, despite the call of the public, of NGOs, Transparency in what you call TIG, Transparency Institute of Guyana, Mr. Ram, Private Sector Commission. Forget about the PPP. We don't count in your eyes. Therefore, calling on you, withdraw that. Go to public tender. You have resolutely, dogmatically, blatantly refused to do it. Again, bulldozing in a China shop. And as you say, is our time. Is our time. Mr. Speaker, the distribution of the budgets for 7 of the 10 regions won by People's Progressive Party Civic has been a lesson in undemocratic approaches by the ROs appointed. They're political appointees. They're chief accounting officers. They have played as if they're governors in these 7 regions. They disregard the regional chairman. They disregard, just let me give you one example. Let me give you one example if you don't believe me. In Region 9, and I know Lethem well, I know Region 9 well, it's always been, since I was a Minister of Health, the problem of never having enough hostels, accommodation for the nurses that you send to Region 9, or the women who come out from the villages who are trained as nurses. A building was identified by the RDC to be converted into another nurses' hostel because they didn't have space. The RO decided, nah, who wants to listen to any RDC, any regional chairman? Who are they? And what they've done is taken the building, beautifully rehabilitated. But you know what it's for? It's for when you all visit the region and the highest ranking people of this country visit the region.
What?
So, I know. And you know, appeals to the Minister of Communities to help the regions where the budgets have been deficient. He has ignored these calls. My dear friend, honourable member, Mr. Greenwich, I can't understand why you're treating you this way, Mr. Greenwich. 2 of your 3 programs have been reduced, have you noticed? I'm sure, being a good Solidarity Cabinet member, you will defend it, you know, to the greatest extent that the cut should take place. But, sir, you've also cut back on the number of contract workers in your ministry. When your ministry, you know, check your book, sir. Check your book. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Greenwich has my sympathy because the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is the window of this country. Not just for missions and ambassadors' appointments, it markets your country. So when Minister Cathy Hughes wants to market some of her tourism stuff, one of the windows, one of the conduits she will use is foreign affairs. The missions, the trade missions, the
You have 2 minutes
General.
remaining, honourable member.
Mr. Speaker, there are only 4 ambassadors out of 13 missions. The rest are all charge d'affaires, or what they call High Commissioners acting. There are only 2 consulates for the rest of the consul generals. So, Mr. Speaker, why haven't some of the ambassadors received their accreditation yet from the host countries? Is this a problem of trust and confidence, or is it just bureaucratic delay? In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, we call on the government to restore the following: the We Care program of $10,000 per child, restore the subsidies to the pensioners for water and electricity, restore the subsidy for contributors to the NIS with the 1%, which you withdrew, Restore the school feeding programs in Region 1, 7, 8, and 9 based on the village economy model, village governance and nutritional studies. Implement the 9-point program with regards to saving the rice industry. Stop the closure of Wales Estate. Start a dialogue in the Parliament on the findings of the COI on sugar. And Mr. Speaker, of course, all the taxation issues. We have proposed reductions, we have proposed amendments to these, we have proposed changes, and I hope that you will listen to them. We have called on you to do not put that increase in the shotgun licenses. Yet we have a bill here today that puts it at the figure of 5,000. These are farmers and Amerindians mainly use shotguns. You
Honourable Member,
the price.
your time is up.
So, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I wish the government well, and the lesson for them to learn is they should listen. Listen and stop acting like a bulldozer in a China shop.